Hello and welcome to the video of making a kydex sheath. Today I will be replacing this kydex sheath. This is a $260 knife. It is a magnificent knife for the purpose it was made for. It is a very mean cutter, and we're not doing a review of the knife today, so I will be very limited. It is CPM Magna Cut with cryogenically heat treated. The model name is North F. It is a full convex grind starting from the back side of the knife all the way down to the edge, and just crazy geometry, very thin tip, and the grinding profile is just extremely aggressive. G10 handle, all enclosed tang that comes down to approximately here. So yeah, that's pretty much about the knife. Why I am replacing the sheath is that it unfortunately came very loose and readily. This is not how it looked. It just had an eyelet here. I edit this because, well, I'll show you. So when it came, it had this section just bent out. I'll show the original sheath in a clip here. So here we go, have a look at it. So I received this yesterday. It's the Magna Cut North F. No problem with the knife, it's done perfect. There's a problem with the sheath. I took this off to have a look at what the reason is, but the sheath rattles really badly. This thing moves up and down, you see? So if I hold this down, it doesn't. The kydex is just loose and the molding is loose. Maybe it was loosened up when they were doing this. I don't know. The thumb ramp maybe, because this is done after the molding of the sheath, so it must have loosened it up. I don't know. But because of these shapes and stuff, I cannot correct this. So it's a problem. And this thing moves a lot, like up and down, you see, and sideways. It moves sideways and up and down. And so as you see, I've cut this down, changed this to have this bend where when you push the thumb, you're not pushing against a sharp edge, but instead a flat area. And this is way more comfortable now. So in terms of popping the knife out of the sheath, doesn't, you know, hurt your thumb anymore. You can do it much easier. Pops off. There you go. Shoots out actually. Now if I slide the lock up, which is, I installed this lock myself, I drilled and elongated the hole, and now it is locked. It won't come out. When you move this down, the knife rattles. But as you have already seen, the original shape of the sheath was much worse. The knife would move up and down significantly more, and it would just rattle around. Very disappointing for a $260 knife. I understand that most of that money went into the blade, but come on guys, still. The other part that I changed was this section here was not rounded, and it did not follow. Now you see this rounded. Originally it did not follow the contour or the oval of the handle. So on one side you had decent retention, on the other side that was one of the reasons causing the wobble. So I changed that as well and made this round. The other thing I did was to replace these screws. As you may be able to see, these are, the profile is just bulging out a bit too much for my liking, and it would rub against your pants or your clothes basically a bit too much. So I installed a much flatter, almost seamless profile on these copper screws, Chicago screws I believe they're referred to. So yeah, I replaced that as well. So now the knife does rattle, but when you lock it does not rattle. It still does, but very little, and doesn't move much, but it rattles because of the design. You see how wide that hole is? It does not follow the blade, obviously is not that wide, so they have a huge drainage hole. I like the design. This is very smart, very easy to wash out if you get any gunk in there, but the section where it grips the handle should have been done much better. And so what I intend to do is to repeat this very narrow shape profile, have a really wide drainage hole just like the original, but first of all, this very high quality, high class knife I think deserves something better instead of just a regular kydex. So we've got this carbon fiber textured gray kydex that I will be using. The other very notable difference is this is 0.6 inches in thickness, and so it is a bit flimsy to my liking. Yeah, so I will be using 0.8 thickness kydex, which in terms of retention it will be stronger, as well as the sheath will be much stronger. What's disappointing is when you're paying $250, $260 USD for a knife, you receive this, and I know that this is not like a Ka-Bar brand or I don't know, Bark River or Gerber, the ones that have large productions. This is a very small production of very high quality knives, and they have a very wide range of different shape formats, different use knives, etc. So I understand they're limited, but as you will see, the instruments and the tools that I have are just Stone Age, right? So Bark River, for example, if I'm able to make this with my Stone Age tools, this is a Bark River, very, very nice knife, but had a horrible sheath and a horrible handle. So I changed both. This is now a very strong knife that you can swing around safely, knowing that the handle is very secure in your hand, and the sheath is much slimmer profile, has a lock, has the thumb ramp, everything that you would expect from a kydex sheath is present. I can lock it and then doesn't come off, and zero rattle on a knife that's almost more than a kilo. Very, very heavy knife. Zero rattle. Another one. I just made this for my boy. Again, kydex sheath. Well, that's it's this making the sound. Zero rattle, as you can see. Again, Stone Age tools I used to make this. Very secure, will never fall out. Dangler. Another one, same material. This is a Ka-Bar, I believe BK16. Again, thumb ramp, so I can easily do that. Very secure, will never fall out, does not rattle, zero rattle. Substantial drainage hole, very slim profile. Another one, here we go. This is a cold steel Warcraft Tanto in 3V steel. Just because this came with a decent sheath, but I had to change the sheath because I changed the handle and it wouldn't work on that. So again, very simple, very slim profile, just 2 screws. The second one acting as a lock as well. Substantial drainage hole. Zero rattle. Zero rattle even without locking. You see that? Doesn't come out. So why am I able to do this? And a $300 knife is not, almost 300, but the same would apply to Park River, for example. So what can we do? We can only improve and better the things that we receive, I guess. Anyway, now I'll stop the rant and start making the sheath. So as you can see, with this sheet I'm able to make a longer section on the handle by about, so if it comes out currently to this section, the new sheath will add almost another inch or 2 centimeters, which will grip the handle better. But because the material will be thicker, I'm hoping that it'll just work better. Yeah, so now I'll quickly explain what I'm going to do, and then I'll switch the video recording to the time lapse, so that you don't have to watch the dragged out slow pace of my work again, because I don't have good tools. I have what you would call homeowner quality type of tools. Okay, so I'll just first draw out how much I need to cut off. Then I will wrap this in this blue painter's tape, I think they call it. It has very good glue on it and stays on. And I will also be adding something here for the drainage hole. Okay, let's start. So this is a necessity if you're making kydex sheaths. I bought this on, I think, Knife Supply USA or something similar. Anyway, you need to search for a specific kydex memory foam for kydex sheaths. Heat resistant memory foam for kydex sheaths. Now this allows me to make huge knives, small knives, and yeah, so this is a necessity. I've built the press myself, very simple plywood and some hinges here, and that's it. And once I put the knife in, I use these clamps. So now I will heat up the kydex sheath I've already prepared this with a drainage hole. I'm just using a piece of wood, and the tip comes up to here approximately, so this is where the knife tip is, and then the rest will be this thick drainage hole. So let's go heat up that sheet. Okay, so this is now pliable. Put that down. So now we will leave this out for about 10 minutes and let it cool. There we go. Okay, enough time has passed. We can now open the press. That's the profile as we wanted. Very large drainage hole. Okay. You see how tight that is? That's what it's supposed to feel like. Very tight. No rattle. Okay. That's good. I'll let it cool off fully. And then I'll start, I'll take the knife out and start drilling the holes. I'm thinking only one hole here, and another, like a locking, the type that I usually make, a slider screw here. So that way it'll be slim, like one screw here. You don't need a screw at the end, and a slider screw here. So I've done the basic shaping of the contour that I want to keep. This section here will be rounded off just for aesthetic purposes, but not now. So now I will drill one hole here and then do an oval wide hole here so I can do the slider lock here. But as you can see already, without having this clamped down, it doesn't rattle anymore. It has tiny bit of looseness, but I can tighten that up. And also this two spots will tighten it up once I drill and screw this down. But yeah, doesn't rattle anymore. So I've drilled one for the eyelet, which is wider. It's about 7 millimeters wide, and now I'm drilling holes for the locking screw. I've done 2. I will do the third one in the center, and then using a round file, this round file that I've attached to a toothbrush handle. So as I said, Stone Age tools, but I'm still doing this. Now I have a drill press, but I want to demonstrate that you don't really need a lot to make these sheaths. that one went a little off center. That's not good. Okay. Now I will just file this out and make it relatively symmetrical. So we're at the final stage of basically screwing down 1 and 2 screws. That one will have this dangler belt loop, and that's it. So before we do that, let's see. No rattle, no rattle. A nice thumb ramp. It doesn't come out with this locked. Unlock, flips out just like it's supposed to. As you can see, to make this indentation I had to add some tape over here to make a bump, so that when I take this off it won't scrape the G10. Basically that's the whole purpose of this tape. And there's just a bunch of layers, as you can see, a bunch of layers, so that this area would be raised. And even here I didn't want this handle to get scratched up. So obviously that is done in the process of molding the kydex sheath. So I first did the general shape, then drilled a hole here, and then once I had drilled that hole I put this back side of the Chicago screw inside, and then reheated this area and did another press so that it would raise and bulge out this section where the screw is, whereas this is now not going to scratch. So the first screw we'll do is this one. We want to add some Loctite to that. I had to grind it down some because it was a bit long, so we'll add just a drop, not even. It should be enough. That was a little more than a drop, but it's okay. So you want to tighten this down and test, does it slide? You don't want it wobbly, you want some grip to it. Just a bit more maybe. Yeah, and that now slides well. That's good. So that's one screw. Maybe loosen it just a hair. Even now it won't wobble, you see, without locking. And we've got a huge drainage hole, huge. Now the second one, and again I need to put some Loctite here. So it doesn't dangle around, and it doesn't. So that's good. Let's see if I can put even more. And that's it, my friends. This is done. So what were the tools used? You saw 85% of the video. For this eyelet, I used these two, the eyelet die set, which is actually two different sets. So this comes with a different set, that comes with a different one, but I found that it worked on this, so I'm satisfied. And then I used the disc grinder to make the basic contour of this. I used my own carving knife that this is a Mora $7 or $8 stainless steel, no, not stainless, carbon, sorry. I used this round file and a drill, a hand drill. So that's, and obviously that heat resistant foam, special foam for the kydex for forming. So if we look at the profile, it is not almost the same. So if we overlay, and we overlay, anyway, you see the formats are not much different. The overall length maybe 1 centimeter longer, but most importantly, this is a thicker kydex, 0.8 0.08, where this is 0.06. And the other benefit to this, other than the fact that it won't rattle inside anymore and it has a lock, well, I put a lock on here as well, but the other benefit, I wore this for 1 day, and you see that shape. It basically, when I took it off, it was like this. It was, the leather was very deformed. I don't like that. I like, first of all, dangler loops, and there is no dangling here because it is done on 2 holes rather than 1, where it could swivel as I've done here. This can swivel, meaning when this is on my belt, to take the knife off, I usually actually do a little twist. So if I have the knife on my belt like this, I will twist the knife horizontally and take it out like so. I don't know why I do that, it's just more comfortable for me. The other thing is, when you sit down, for example, when you sit down with this type of a sheath, it can't go anywhere, so it bends all over the place, or it'll bend your belt, etc. Whereas this can swivel, so when you sit down and this touches anything, it will just move around. And yet another benefit is that I don't have to take the belt off with this. You can just clip it on. It has this nice lip where it won't slide away, slide out. It has perforations, very lightweight. So overall, I'm very happy with how this came out as opposed to the original. I think these are extra. I would, if I was making this, I would put one eyelet here, maybe another here, and then I would put a lock here. So this is just a, I don't know, for visual or whatever. So to the old knife, North Face, I understand they have their production line set up, and but they actually do listen to customer feedback as their own, as well as their own testing and research and development. So hopefully they will consider another solution to attaching, to how they're attaching the belts. The leather is very nice, very thin, very soft and pliable, but not the best execution of a belt. And let me show you another. Again, I'll bring this in. Another dangler loop that I've made is such, and how I decided to do it is to put each side over the kydex, so to sandwich the kydex in between the leathers. Obviously you gotta do this L shape to bring it away from the handle, but it works just fine, as you can see. And then this again dangles, so when I've got this on the belt I can rotate horizontally, take the knife out. Otherwise it dangles just fine. One cool thing is this leather is actually off of a Core Essentials gun belt. Core Essentials make arguably the best belts for everyday use and gun belts. They also have nylon belts, leather belts, full grain and top grain. I would always advise you go with a full grain because, you know, it's the skin side rather than the underneath of the thick leather hide. This is also buffalo leather. So I had some extra that I had to cut off. They send out a longer one. I had to cut it off. Anyway, there are a few options of danglers that you can do. Unfortunately, I don't have this leather anymore, but if I did, I do prefer doing this type of a dangler loop than a plastic one, but to each his own. This does have that benefit where you can just clip it on and off the belt without taking it off. So that's it for now. I have contacted the company that made this. So I purchased it on a store. I contacted the store, and unfortunately they haven't responded back. They might still, but it's been a few days, so they never responded. Disappointing. But I did contact the knife maker and sent them a video of where I'm showing how the sheath is defective and the knife rattles inside. So I asked them to take responsibility and send me a replacement, and I will update in the description if they do send me the replacement. Also, I have not done a review on the knife, and it deserves a good thorough review because the knife itself, as I said, is just fabulous. This is a crazy cutter. My first Magna Cut blade. I haven't had Magna Cut before. I've been testing it, making it feather sticks, doing some kindling preparation, working on some sticks, and it has just amazed me how much the blade wants to get into the wood. You know how like a Scandi grind, Mora, you know, your Enzos and Brisas, they will, usually the Scandi grinds, they will cut deep into the wood. This does that, but on cocaine basically. It's crazy how this cuts wood, and it takes a little bit of getting used to because it is a full convex, and finding that edge where it's cutting, and whether you want very thin curls or you want to make thicker cuts, it takes a bit of getting used to, but the knife is just crazy good. Oh, one more thing that I wanted to mention about the sheath design, and this is again is I guess for all knife to consider. This knife is for professionals. It is not for beginners for several reasons. It is not a safe knife. If you don't know how to use a knife, this is not what you want to learn with. Very quick couple of examples. First, the sheath. and extraction of the knife from the sheath. There was no lock before, there was just an eyelet here. So imagine there's an eyelet here. If somebody that does not know how to unsheath holds it here, they're going to severely cut their hand. Again, this is a crazy cutter. But even if it was just a regular 420C, it doesn't matter. If it's a sharp knife, you could very easily cut yourself if you have your finger here, like so. And taking it out, as you can see, it comes out like, you see how the blade can come out here. And newbies I've seen, when you hand them, I tell them, please keep your fingers behind this point. So hold it like this, don't hold it like this. But maybe you may forget, or maybe a newbie will buy the knife and hold it like this. And also when you open it, it usually goes like that, right? So imagine that, just cutting all the way down to your bone. Another reason why the knife is not a safe knife for newbies is because it does not have a finger guard. For me, this is beautiful because it allows me to choke up on the blade and come basically come as close as possible to the cutting edge of the blade. So that's fine. But the sheath, not very safe. What's a solution? This is a sort of a solution, because there is still an argument that, well, what if I hold the finger here? Well, yeah, I guess you could also do that, but I usually, where possible, do this tiny little ramp which kind of tells you that do not pass that point. So you hold it like that if you're using both hands and not only the thumb ramp. So if you're holding it like this, safe, it cannot cut you. The other thing that I did different to this sheath is, as you can see here, I have it very as closed off as possible, where this is open, so the knife can easily slide out. Here it comes out, no, not really. So if you do actually hold your hand here, the cut will be significantly shallower, but still no one wants to get cut. So just like you would install a finger guard on a handle like it is here, I do it on the sheath as well. So I always know that I should not cross this, just hold it here, bam. And also, if you hand it to somebody, you tell them, do not pass your finger above this point. Yeah, so there are some significant improvements that can be done to this sheath, but by no means am I putting this down. It could just be a perfect sheath, where right now it's not really even a good sheath, but a very good idea. Very slim profile, huge drainage hole, and also a very wide section where the blade goes in, so there's no chance of rubbing against this. But for those that know knives, you don't really need such a huge wide open section here. You can put 2 or 3 layers of scotch tape on this, not a scotch tape, but you know, the painter's tape, which will add up to about 1 millimeter or maybe even more on each side. And that way, when you take it, and so you mold your knife just like I did here, you mold it with that tape on there, and when the shape is done, you just take the shape off, and there is that extra millimeter on each side on inside of your sheath, so the knife won't be getting scratched up. I've done it with and without that addition. On this, for example, I've done it without, and on very large knives, and this is a large knife, I do it that way so that the weight of the knife doesn't cause rattle. And this is I mean, as you can see, it goes in and out very easy and locks well. So it depends on the knife, its weight, its design, and how the blade is shaped also. But I'm quite happy with how this came out. Okay, that will be it for today. Let's sheath this baby. There we go. And when you lock, it won't come out. It moves a bit, but it won't come out. And when you unlock, it will. Thank you very much for watching, and please engage, comment, tell me what your thoughts are, how you would have done this differently, etc. And stay safe and have a good one. Cheers.